Hello, hello. Chirp, chirp. It's your bird, Night Sparrow here. I barely have any time to record. I just got back from some drills and exercise and stuff. Having the time for pickleball. I just stepped on a car. Ow. Hope everyone's doing well. It is, well, here it's April 10th. It's not bad. I mean, it's warm outside. There's still snow on the ground, but it's warm outside. One day it'll be no snow. And then the week after that, one day it'll snow again because it'll be the next winter, I swear. Anyways, I hope everyone's doing well. Today I hope to go over the TTJ games, the 22 Jozu games from the TT Series 12. Yay! Yeah. I didn't want to join, but I did want to do some sort of video or coverage or something about it. And I still haven't figured out OBS. I kind of did, but then I launched it and it had to update, and I was like, you know what? I don't have time for this. So here we are back on Restream, I guess. But anyways, I'm going to upload this to YouTube, so it doesn't matter too much if you missed the stream. I'm not going to broadcast this anyways to really anyone. I'm just going to download it and upload to YouTube and so on and so forth. Well, without further ado, let's get started. I've looked at 5 of the 7 games. I didn't have time to look at the last ones, unfortunately, but let's go over them, shall we? Now, what my goal is I hope to go over what I think are some key points of each game, or probably just the key point, and I hope to give a line of what they can do to improve, sort of thing. Now, granted, I haven't played much shogi lately. My last 81 dojo rating was 2Q, maybe. But since then, I haven't really played, so I could be 9Q. Who knows? But hopefully, if it helps someone, if it helps anyone, that'd be great. But if you just want to watch it and, English shogi content, yay, right? All right, without further ado, we have the first game here. I'm going kind of in order of what the Kifu has. So we have Madsen versus Sofyf. Sofyf, by the way, is from the Blunderbuss Discord. Awesome. One day when I go over the TTS games, there's actually quite a few players over there. Like Nova, Hen. There's more. But yeah. Anyways, in this first game, we have good old Central versus Static. It's always interesting to see how these games unfolds. I'm just going straight to where I made some points here. Now, my first point is this layout here. I hope my voice is recording. How can I check? Let's see. Okay, yep. It looks like my voice is recording. Yay. I'm not checking to see if it is actually working in Twitch, so here's hoping. Now, in this scenario, for move 20, that was played. Pawn 9-4. Edge pawn push by Sofyf. In this scenario, actually, notice before, we advanced the silver. Kind of a climbing, a static rook with climbing silver sort of scenario. Targeting this pawn here, which is great. Madsen retreats the bishop early. And what you can actually do here is, what can you do here? You can do silver takes this pawn right now. Actually, Madsen doesn't have a pawn to redrop here, which It's fine, I guess. I know later on this sort of thing happens. You can actually trade it if you so desire. And you have a nice silver fork over here. Disrupt all the things down here. But I'm gonna think of a different game. But yeah, you can actually just go on and take that pawn. Because Madsen doesn't have a pawn to redrop, they can't really do anything. Even if they had a pawn to redrop, let's say they had their next move was pawn drop, there. You can go ahead and push this pawn. If they take your silver, you now have a token. And you're threatening everything over here. You're going to make a drag. It's going to be great. Static rook. Opening successful, basically. But even if they don't do anything, even if they don't do anything, they do some sort of move, whatever. Your next move can still be pawn push. And if they take, for example, you have your rook here. Let's say they do the good old redrop. Your silver is right there, ready to go. So this could have been a very, very strong static rook attack here. The pieces are in position in such a way that they can really defend against there. There's one defender here. The bishop kind of retreated. It was blocking here. So yeah, it was a good chance to start the offense there by Sofyf. That's okay, because let's see. Later on, we have edge pawn, edge pawn. It's a different game to go, yes. We do this push now and go up here and rook retreats. I guess I did have something to say with this, but I don't really want to. I don't think it's that big of a thing. Instead of retreating one space with the rook, you could have retreated all the way here, open up this gap, and possibly had drop a pawn here to get ready to push. This is a bit of a weak spot. Like, let's, for example, say that we have silver, our rook retreats. If Madsen decides not to drop the pawn or thing, he does this. Sorry, they do that, and that's fine. Can't do anything else. But let's say they don't do anything. This is an opportunity. And Madsen would not be able to do much about this. This pawn is coming down. There's not really any way of defending this effectively. I mean, later on they do this as well. The silver's trapped, but this is going to be faster. Yeah. So there were opportunities to strike with this static rook formation. But anyways, things happen. The silver does get trapped eventually. It didn't really have anywhere to go, unfortunately. Even if you push this pawn to give it a space, you just take and there's not much to do. I guess you drop another pawn here, but the silver's dying. The silver is a lost cause, and eventually Madsen takes advantage of that. So good job. So for Sofyf, one thing I wanted to say about this game was if you had more support with this attack. Right now you had, or back here, you had the rook, you had a silver hanging around this area. That's fine. There could have been more. Could have, yeah, pawn in hand. You could have brought the knight up. You could have arranged this in such a way that your bishop was eyeing this spot as well. That would be nice because for central rook, they're blocking this. So even if you push this pawn, the bishop's kind of blocked. So rearranging the bishop to aim over there might be better. And, well, you don't really want the king to be lined up with the rook. For Madsen, I didn't really have too much to say. Good seeing that this silver was hanging. Good job. My one main thing is that for Madsen, your bishop retreats. It actually retreats early, which was probably fine. I mean, if you didn't retreat it, it would go back anyway, right? And then attacks would start and so on. It'd be disaster. So your bishop retreats, and then it doesn't really do much anymore. It's kind of just stuck there. Your other pieces are trying to protect the bishop. The bishop's blocked now. It's basically castled here. So one way to counteract that, and I'm not necessarily saying this is a good thing you can do, but the silver, this is what I like doing when I play central rook, actually. I like moving my silver here so that if this sort of scenario happens again, you have to retreat the bishop. The bishop can retreat this way and still be eyeing that spot. I hear a weird sound, but anyways, the bishop can still watch over this spot. Or the bishop can go over here as well. And it can come out this way if you want. I mean, this is a very nice diagonal if you go over here. Yeah, and this way you have two protectors of this pawn, basically double guarding it from the central rook. Sorry, not central, the static rook. So that's one option. If that way you wouldn't have to basically make a castle and big guard over here, and your bishop kind of went out of play. I mean, even though your bishop it wasn't trapped, but it was caged. There were ways of getting it out. Like in the future, your bishop could have come back here, came out in some direction, so that's fine. It just, you know, saved you some moves, right? It went there and then went back. Yeah. That's all I have to say about this game. Good game, you guys. I'm going to move on to the next one. How did I program this? Let's see here. Can I just change it over? I don't think so. Okay, that's okay. So I'm going to close that. Goes back to this. Okay. They changed the layout of Restream. And so I'm trying to get used to it again. All right. We have next game here. Abelsid. Forgive me if I butchered the name. Abelsid versus what I think is Kitter. Like Kitter. All right. What do I have to say about this game? Right. This was actually quite a long game. Pretty awesome. We have double static rook. Yay. The first thing I had to comment on is on move 45. So let's go all the way to move 45. It went numb. So what happened here was we have two static rooks. It was set up. You have basically a pawn wall. At some point, they're going to engage. Abelsid has two pawns in hand, which is great. Kitter has kind of an open file. It's kind of blocked right now by this, and we're trying to break through here. This king's kind of castled. You have almost Nurishino. It's Torizashi. That might be wrong. Anyways, you have things aimed here, which is great. But you need to somehow start the attack. You can't just throw your silver in here and do stuff. You gotta. Ideally, you would have had a pawn to drop right there. But we don't. We don't. So what do? We throw our knight into the fray. And once the knight gets taken, openings happened. Got the pawn, silver comes in, trades happen, things like that. So, yep, by taking that knight, all that gets activated. This knight, though, is a knight. It's not a pawn. It's not hitting anything. Okay, let me rephrase it. It's not hitting directly in front of it. In fact, it is targeting this bishop. Woo. So we can just move it back. And now this knight is a liability. This knight is now blocking this rook and the silver from being able to interact with this column again. Yeah, sure, you still have the bishop here. Sure, this knight is, it's covering these two spaces, but so's your knight. This knight kind of can't do anything right here. It kind of it's sitting here until it goes and dies. Like, what can, after a bishop retreats to 8-8, for example, what can this knight do? Nothing. Woohoo! I promoted blip. Or even, well, blip like that's probably better. And now what? They've lost knight. If they go over here, same thing. They can't really do anything. In fact, your bishop can just go back in place if you so desired. So the main thing I want to say about this spot was you don't have to take things immediately. In fact, this happens later on in this game as well. You don't have to take things instantly, even if they're offering it on a silver platter. It looks delicious with this knight. You can just give them targets, give them nothing. And now their attack's blocked. They can't really do anything. Like, let's say they just they do some random move. Now what you could do is well, not much either, to be honest. What I would recommend from this point is maybe something like I didn't think about this very carefully. What would be a good sequence to go forward with here? I can't think of anything. I'm not a static rook player. My initial thought was to retreat the rook and do something like push it over here. Maybe do something here, because this is kind of blocked right now. They have a sort of Yagura shape, even though this pawn is a bit high. So maybe the rook can come over here. It's double defended right now, but at some point, if it's not defended, you can go in, sort of thing. I don't know. Maybe something like this. With a pawn push, bishop up. You can move this up, sort of thing. Hard to say, but that's kind of the idea that I would get. But I'm a ranging rook player, so. Yeah, anyways, you didn't have to take that knight. By taking that knight, you basically activated all of their offense here. They're going in, and they did go in. Good job, Kidder, for getting in. The next move I have is move 48. What did I say here? SX76. Oh, yeah, okay. So move after this. What move did you actually do? You did pawn. And later on, actually, the rook does eventually break through. It's a bit messy, but things happen. Silver, rook comes in, and then rook goes. Dragon goes in, and so on. You got a dragon here. Yay. Could have, instead of dropping this pawn here, because this pawn actually makes it a bit hard. Like, if they don't take this pawn, which, good job, Abelsid, you didn't take that pawn. You got to break in through a different way, which you did. And it gets complex and so on and so forth. Instead, you could just, you generally want to keep your rook column open. So, what you could do instead is silver takes 7-6. If gold takes, then you're in. Woo! You're in. And then future bishops can come in here. You can take this lance. Oh, I can't take this lance yet. But this knight is hanging. Things. Joyous. Yay. Charge. They have a silver, sure. Your castle's kind of non-existent on this side, but hey, you got a dragon. So yeah. And they kind of have to take the silver too. Let's say they decide to retreat. Then you can get the bishop. And sort of thing. Go from there. I'm not sure where you'd go on from there. Maybe you don't take the bishop. Who knows? The bishop's kind of not doing anything either. Maybe you drop a pawn at this point. Because it's double attack, but it's double defended as well. Yeah, threaten to promote there. Maybe don't do the pawn there at this point. Maybe you charge on forward. Now they kind of have to do this. And you have that sort of thing. They can block your advance, but no, they can't really. So yeah. In the game, you kind of blocked your rook with this pawn, and there might have been a better way, is all. And finally, move 63 onwards. I know I'm kind of focusing on Kidder's moves here, but I'm not a static brick player. I'm not sure if this setup is correct or not for either player, really. But here, in this sort of scenario, we have a dragon on the bottom row. This king's kind of out in the open. Great. We went with bishop 8-5. There might have been a better bishop drop. It's almost Sume. It could be Sume. Maybe I screwed up. I was looking at this move, honestly. Bishop 4-9. For two reasons. One, it blocks this exit. Even though king moves here, this is kind of a dead end sort of spot. But it blocks this exit here, which I think you were trying to do with this. But two, you're dropping in the opponent's camp. So even if they move out of the way and things happen, let's say you don't see the mate or anything, you can still move out and you have a horse. Yay, a horse. Versus what happened in the game, I drop here and it got blocked. And this bishop can't get in anymore and it can't promote. So yeah, when dropping, especially major pieces, if possible, drop them in the opponent's camp so that even if you have to retreat them afterwards, you still get a horse. And the reason I say it's almost Sume is this is mate. And over here, what did I do here? Let's see, king 4-8, there. I screwed up. Actually, I thought you had a silver in hand. So maybe this is not mate. I mean, that's fine. That's mate. There you go, mate. And the only one I can figure out mate for was if you went here. Wasn't sure what to do at this point. I mean, you can still go here. Can't take because gold drop is mate. So you'd retreat up here. And at this point, I was like, wait, no, this is mate. Wait. Maybe this is mate. How did I miss that? Okay, anyways, this was probably mate. This is probably a Sume. Yay. I mean, the game ended quite a bit after, so, I mean, no big loss. My phone turned off. Excellent. That's what I was reading off of. How did I not see it? This is what happens when you analyze games at 2 a.m. You miss the obvious. Oh, well. Anyways, my lines for everyone. Abelsid, you don't have to take immediately. You can leave things in tension, especially if it's blocking your opponent. It's great. Knights in particular are notorious for blocking roads. Same with pawns. Pawns can be slow sometimes. And Kidder, try to drop major pieces in the opponent's base, as shown here. All right, let's move on. I am going a bit quickly through these. Partly because I need to be somewhere soon, but also because I just want to do quick overviews of them, honestly. This game, I might not show this game too much. There's not much of this game to show, I should say. It is... There we go. It is Andersjoh versus Carl T55. And this game ended in 56 moves. Yeah, it was explosive. I don't have anything to say about these two. Partly because it was static rook, and partly because it's very explosive. I do want to say there's often when you have floating rooks, like rooks on the fourth rows, there's always a chance of bishop forks with stuff. And in fact, the bishop fork happened right there, and then you have bishop fork between rook and gold. Oof. And then we did a bishop protecting fork. Cool. And we block, and then the rook went away, and I don't think that did much because you got a horse down, so on and so forth. Yeah, there's always a risk of forks. You gotta be careful of that. In fact, you can do something funny here. This fork can be countered with this fork. So now you're attacking that, and you're protecting the gold, and that's not the gold, but whatever. And if you take, well, there's not really a fork anymore, right? Bishops are gone, but you can't do that fork again. The pawn's in the way. So yeah, it's always funny seeing these kinds of fork things happen. That would have been an interesting sequence. You just copy their move. I mean, let's say you take the rook. Take the rook. What happens next? I'm not quite sure. This bishop can't go forward, really. This bishop can't really go forward either. They're kind of just waiting to die sort of thing. You got rooks in hand. Nowhere really to drop them. Yeah. Which, by the way, I want to mention, in the early game, bishops are generally considered better than rooks. So, even if we get back to here, this fork here, we could do something like this. Rook over here. And if they take the rook, you just traded a rook with a bishop. And bishop might be better. Sure, they have a rook. Where are they going to drop it? Here. They could. Kind of bad. Kind of bad for you, but, maybe just drop pawn there. They got to retreat. Yay, they have a dragon. Now what? They kind of just stuck with this dragon. You got two bishops to do some stuff with. I don't know. Maybe set up a trap with this pawn here. If you really want to get rid of it, you could threaten this fork in the future, sort of thing. But yeah, don't be too afraid of losing your rook to a bishop. In the early game, especially, it will benefit whoever gets the bishop usually. Anyways, that's all I really like to say about this game. It was two static rooks, and I don't know static rook. It's also very explosive. Very fun. Always fun, those explosive games. Let's move on. Maybe in the future there'll be slower games to look at from them. We have, every time I close it, it closes on here, I believe. Yeah. Oh well. It means I'll have to click it every single time. Let's see. Hopefully it looks good. This next game is Pelmanism versus Kaiju. All right, there we go. And this is a long game, by the way, as well. But don't mind me, I think every game over 100 moves is long. My first thing I wanted to mention was on move 81. Oh my gosh. But my main comment for this game, it's intense, by the way. is the shogi proverb, to check is to chase, which applies to both sides here. All right. What do I want to say on move 81? So at this point here, we have a dragon and promoted silver here. Kaiju has the horse over here. Some sort of castle. This rook is kind of not doing any attacking, unfortunately. We do have bishop in hand, so material-wise, it's about equal. Both sides have a rook, bishop, and 4 generals. So it's approximately equal. But Pelman has broken through with a dragon. And yes, Kaiju has a horse. But this horse is kind of far from here, and the rook's not active. Plus, Kaiju has bishop in hand, which, as we know, is worth more than on the board, generally. Plus, the diagonal on this rook is open, protected by the horse right now, but that could change real quick. Now, at this point, we have a dragon and we have basically gold. We need to somehow attack this and ideally not let the king escape. Ideally. How can we do this? There's a few ways. I mean, the silver right now is attacking here. If they trade, that's about equal. You move a bit closer, I guess. But you only have a dragon and a gold. Promoted silver. You need more things here to add pressure. So, in the game, the move silver retreating was played. That's fine. But, I mean, the dragon is protecting the silver. Like, if they take... Okay, well, if it was their move and they took, and you take back, you're not unhappy about that. Let's just say. It's not a bad thing. But you need more support here. So the move I recommend is good old knight drop. And what does this do? Well, if they go on and take, you take back. You still have 2 pieces pressuring here, but they've lost one of their generals. So now if they, for example, they're trying to kick your dragon out, you can, what can you do? You can almost make them. You can do stuff. Like, let's say you can use these resources, right? You could, for example, try to deflect. Maybe silver. And they're trying to protect the gold, for example. Maybe this is not the best. Well, maybe I can do a pawn here. Throw the pawn in there. If they take, you can take here. If they take with the rook, then once again, you have something attacking them. Just all-out attack at this point. Actually, at this point, you could take the gold, because this knight here, the supporting knight, can be a VIP. Basically, you needed more. You needed more troops, more pieces in that area, attacking that area. Yeah, because later on, actually, this gets taken, and it's just a dragon. And yes, dragon is super powerful, but it's just a dragon. Dragon sometimes not enough. But anyways, what happens? We trade, we take the lands. We get them fun castle here. All we need is some way of dropping gold here. So yeah, gold is mate. What can we do here? Well, if a gold is mate, where's their golds? They have gold here and here. We'll try to take this one. Why not? So what we could do is attack this gold. If, for example, they sidestep it. I'm going to start with a different line. If they sidestep it this way, you have a silver in hand. And if they takes, you have a token. This rook is gonna die in some way. Like, let's say it goes down here. I mean, this rook is not very good at defending. Things are going to be very, very sad real soon here, right? So retreat or something. Yeah, we're just not. We're breaking through at some point here. So this gold is kind of needed to be protected, but it can't be taken. So this side step here, for example, same thing. Silver. We're attacking the rook. If they takes. Again, remember they can't lose their gold, otherwise it's automatic mate, basically. And here we go again. We ran out of pawns, but we have a lance. Now what? I mean, if you dodge it, we run into the exact same problem. We have silver there. This rook is sad. But if we take it, we have knight drop. This is a very nice knight drop, protected by this pawn. Cuts off the horse's protection. So now this lance is threatening this knight, and this knight's threatening this knight. So, sure, we could back up, for example, and now the lance is in play. We could sidestep, but now the silver has a nice fork here. So no matter what you do, well, I guess you can go here. Could go here, I guess. But we still have a silver now. And now we've basically destroyed all the defenses here. This rook is under heavy attack. You have support, that sort of thing. And let's go back to the obvious move. If you throw a pawn in front of a gold, why not take it? Yay! Now what? Well, good old knight 5-6. Cuts off the horse again. And it goes back to the sequences. If the gold retreats, you have a lance. If the gold moves anywhere, really, you got the silver drop in there. Very similar patterns. But this knight being here is pretty strong. It cuts off, like I said, it cuts off the horse being here. The silver is still protecting it right now, but eventually the silver has to protect the 4-3 spot. And this is all possible because this gold cannot be taken. Because if they do something else, for example, we go back to here, we drop the pawn there, like, okay, well, whatever. Make an escape route. I mean, yeah, free gold. They have gold. And gold and silver. Now this king is scared. Who knows? Maybe we'll surround here at this point. Block the escape route. Things like that. So yeah. By taking advantage of the fact that you need a gold to mate, this gold was very vulnerable in this spot. In this 4-3 spot, it's very vulnerable in general. All right. Last move I want to look at is move 104. So at this point, Kaiju makes a counterattack. We have knight, we have silver. The king's running away. We block the king's escape with this lance. Ho ho ho. Except there might have been a better move. Bishop. Fork. Ho 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 ho. To be fair, this does not stop the king from running away. The king can run or protect itself. That might not be the best, but the king can go here and run over to this area. And it's kind of safe. But you do get rid of the opponent's dragon. Their main offense. Your king is now generally safe. And that would have been a nice fork. Ultimately, the lance does win you the game, so who knows? This lance is still a pretty good move. Still pretty good. Check, and then check, and then check, and check, and check, and check, and check, and check. And that's not a check anymore. I think they're trying to get the dragon over. Oh, takes anyways. Check. Yeah. And eventually this bishop does drop in that spot after the dragon's gone. But yeah, there was a fork there. So yeah, my advice to both players was to check is to chase, sort of thing. You can surround the king a bit more. Yeah. Good game, you guys. Like a lot of the TTJ games I looked at are very good games. Very good. This is the last one I actually looked at, analyzed. I might just do this one and then call it a day, sort of thing. Oh, someone saw my stream. Oh, it's an ad. Foreign policy touch. Touche. Anyways, gonna block you. Woohoo! I got excited for a moment, but I was like, I'm not advertising the stream. Oh well. Let's get to the last game. Anyways, I might just look at this game and then call it a day, sort of thing, because I didn't really look at the other games, and I have to be somewhere in the near future. Unfortunately, time is of the essence. So sorry to Nadugo, Machamizu, Dark Necros, and IX_01. I think. I might look at you guys' games later, or I just might check out your guys' games in round 2. Might just do that, actually. Depending. It just depends if I have time to analyze the games and time to stream. That's the big thing, really. To have time to make the video itself. Anyways, we have Fredbaldy versus Jens. Man, 81 dojo names are fun to say. All right. I have a decent amount of comments here. That was my phone going off. Let's start with move 22. This is the game I was thinking of when I first saw the first game with Sofyf. And we have Stag Rook versus third file here. Third file is kind of getting cramped. And then move 22. So we have a similar situation. We have climbing silver. The targeting here. And Fredbaldy decides to retreat the bishop. Retreat it early. Retreat it this way. You actually could have retreated this way too, if you so desired. But at this point, Jens had a fun little tactic he could have done. Because Fredbaldy's using third file rook, we have less defense here. All your generals are over here. They're not really guarding this column. So, you can just go with your attack. Pawn h6. They kind of have to take. If they do anything, let's say they protect it, you just move forward with this one. And you're just charging forward with that. So they kind of have to take. But now, what do I want to say with this? But now you can move your silver over here. This pawn cannot be defended. Like your silver's too far away, your gold's too far away, your rook's too far away. You got bishop here, I guess, but your silver's gonna break through. And even if, for example, you pin the silver's breaking through. This silver cannot be stopped. This silver's coming in. It's coming in hot. Things are dying. Yeah. There was a chance of breakthrough here on move 22. That's fine, though. We played slow. We do the edge attack. Fredbaldy, seeing the edge, also push their edge. And I want to say don't automatically push the pawn on the edge. Especially here, you don't really have any support here. In fact, Jens later does this, actually, the edge attack. But at this point, could already do an edge attack here. For example, takes, silver takes. This lance controls this column. It's threatening to go here and promote, maybe. Promote and then take this knight and just cause mayhem. Yeah. Later on, this kind of happens. So yeah, Fredbaldy, you don't need to push the edge in response to pushing the edge. I know it's kind of automatic when someone pushes a pawn, you push the pawn sort of thing. But this one in particular kind of enabled them to do the edge attack. Let's look at the difference then. Let's say you don't push this pawn and you continue castling or something. Jens would need to push the pawn 2 more times to attack. And not only that, the silver is guarding this spot here, not this spot. So Jens would not be able to do an edge attack if your pawn was in the original spot. But because you push the pawn here, now the conflict zone, the place where they interact, is in the silver's range, enabling the edge attack. So yeah, even if they push here, and honestly at that point, maybe you just leave it. Do something else. You can't really do anything about this pawn. You can hold them off here because you have 3 things guarding this spot here, but it's not going to be pretty. Like at some point they'll promote. You have to decide what to take this with, maybe the lance. And I don't know how edge attacks work, unfortunately. Something like this. And now you got a pawn here sort of thing, and they have lance in hand. It gets messy. But anyways, the point I'm trying to make is don't give them their choice of interacting on an ideal spot. Let them come to you. Let them get all the way here and have to attack at this spot here where they don't have their silver, where you can actually defend a bit better. Yeah, that sort of thing. That is the whole point I'm trying to make. Ooh. You can tell I'm a bit sleepy too. All right, let's move to move 48. A minor comment on move 48. So eventually, Fredbaldy gets horse. Good job. And Jens has a rook here. So very intense. What we do, we drop the bishop to try and, well, I guess we're targeting, which is great, but we're also trying to get rid of the bishop, this horse, which is fine. My general rule is you don't want to drop a bishop in your camp unless absolutely necessary. I don't think this is absolutely necessary, honestly. I mean, what's the difference? You just drop a knight there. Let's say they continue on with their line. The rook goes down. You can move the gold over. You have 2 protectors. They have 2 attackers. They're kind of cramped. They can't actually take this either. So their next move after this was they put a lance down here to try and do stuff, and that's fine. But yeah, a knight would have done a similar thing to the bishop. But after they trade, they get a knight only, not a bishop. So yeah, a note with that. And all right, move 59. So eventually we got a trapped rook here. They had the lance here. As mentioned, Jens is on the offense here. He has beautiful knight placement. He has a rook here. Not yet a dragon. We have a fake Anaguma here. It's not looking great, but the pieces are protecting one another very well. Like, they're very protected, and the king is kind of holding things together too. It's very tight-knit square here. And Fredbaldy decides, let's get rid of this knight. Bishop gets dropped. Unfortunately, Nifu happens there. But it would have been very interesting to see how the game develops. What did I want to say about this? I think instead of this silver move here, retreating the silver, because now silver technically is hanging. I guess you are protecting these two spots from the knight coming in, which is great. But Jens didn't really have anything to drop there. Like, even if, for example, you do some move and we got a token, Jens doesn't have enough support to do stuff with this. So what I recommend here is bishop 4-6. Right here. First off, you're targeting that lance. Woohoo. Doesn't hurt. You're also targeting this here. Your dragon's in jail. And that's not great. You kind of need your dragon. This lance is not enough to break through because it has two protectors. So now, adding this bishop is a third protector. So now you take with the lance. They take with the knight, for example. Bishop, gold, dragon, and your dragon's free. Yeah. You could have had another thing there. And yeah, they could protect it, for example. Drop a bishop there, protect the pawn. Full on jail. And that's when you go, oh well, what will I do? Horse. Yeah. So yeah, that's I think bishop 4-6 there would have been better. What did I want to say? Oh yes. Another move that's an option instead of bishop 4-6 is pawn 8-2. Always love this kind of move. Just throw the pawn there. If the rook takes and it's a drag now, that's fine. Use the pawn and they've wasted a move. Now they got to take another move to get the dragon back down there, for example. Pretty valuable. In fact, if they take this, you got a beautiful, gorgeous fork right there. So they can't actually take it. They can't take that pawn. So what can they do? Run away? That's fine, I guess. Except you got a beautiful fork right here. And in fact, this knight too. If you really want to get rid of this knight, you have a beautiful fork right here. And in fact, even before that pawn, you could have just did a beautiful fork right there anyways. And if they really wanted to protect their knight, still got the lance. And now you're threatening the silver moving. So yeah, bishop drops. Bishops are very, very good at forking things. You can use a bishop to eat spaghetti, I've heard. Anyways, that's all I want to say about that game. So yeah, Fredbaldy is okay. What did I say? It's okay to let pressure build. This is earlier in the game. You don't have to immediately trade things. Like, in this space here, it's okay to leave these alone. You didn't have to take this bishop. Force them to take your piece instead. Like, do something else. Something better than that, but do something else. Even if they take, you still have the dragon. And now their gold is not here. Now you're threatening this. Now you're making them move here. And now they've lost the move. So yeah, let the pressure be there. Don't rush into trades. And Jens. I know the game ended in Nifu. You had a decent position at the end here. You needed more support. You had a rook, yeah, you had a knight, which is in a decent spot. It's not protected, but it's in a decent spot. You needed more. You need more attacking. Like, it's hard because you have a bishop, and this is a very, very structurally sound, I feel. They didn't really have too many hanging pieces. So it's hard to say where you can get the resources. I mean, if the game was slow enough, this dragon's kind of trapped. You could have just, you know, get some pawn here, make a token, move the token in place, get second pawn here, make another token, do a little token storm here. Yeah, could have done something like that. It's hard to say what is the best move here. Maybe one token was enough. Hang on. If we just had one token, make it into a one pawn token, move, move, and then move. This is pretty good. The king is kind of, the rook is pitting this gold. So if gold takes, you now have that, and you're very well off. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 moves. It would have taken 5 moves to get there. But that would have been a way of adding more firepower, more support. Yep. I know at some point you're probably going to take this lance and make a dragon. The lance might have not been too helpful, but the dragon would have been decently nice. But the dragon would have come eventually. Anyways, that's all I had to say about that game. Very nice game, you guys. And that's all the games we analyzed. Unfortunately, we will look at more games in the future, but hopefully some of these comments are helpful at the very least. And if not, hopefully encourages people to take a look at some TTJ games and TT games in general on the TT series, the 22 series, hosted by Shogi Harbor and Kara Sensei. Very awesome. It's the 12th season. And I'm not participating this time because personal goals and whatnot. But very, very awesome competition and stuff. Anyways, hope everyone's having a nice day. See you later.